I'm afraid that the little mean voices are right.
Started doubting myself, started talking bad to myself.
Who do you think you are? No, you're never gonna pull that off.
Inside voice, quiet.
I'm beginning to think that imposter syndrome affects creatives more than any other people. Hi, I'm Angelina, and this is my YouTube channel. I have over 200,000 subscribers here and over 21,000 on Instagram, over 15,000 on TikTok, and almost 1 billion monthly views on Pinterest. I have my own fashion line, and I was a guest on the Tamron Hall show for what I do on this channel. I'm a licensed architect in the state of Texas. I graduated from 8th grade as valedictorian, graduated from high school number 3, went to college on a full tuition scholarship. I've been a widow for 4.5 years, and I take very good care of my 3 children by myself. I also host the first international sustainable sewing competition in the world called Next Top Upcycler. You can see it there. Why am I saying all of this? I am saying this because I want you to know that as each one of those things were listed, in the back of my head, there was something downplaying every single point. Now, of course, nobody likes a bragger, but when it gets to the point where the voice, the mean voice in your head won't allow you to see how great you are and is keeping you back from your potential, from what you could possibly do great in this world, then there's a problem. Now, let me tell you what I'm not. I am not a licensed mental health professional. So I want to put that out there. I am not giving you professional mental health advice. I am only giving you my perspective as a creative and something that I have been seeing more and more within this creative community. I want you to watch this very raw footage from Fair, our winner for this season of Next Top Upcycler, and I'll be right back.
Being Next Top Upcycler is like jumping in the pool when the water is cold. I don't want to use it lightly, but I've been struggling with imposter syndrome for as long as I can remember. I'm actually glad that there's a name for it now, or that I know a name for it now, but it's just so draining to... You have a good idea and instantly that little voice in your head telling you, no, that's not that great, no, who do you think you are, no, you're never gonna pull that off, no, you're just gonna make a fool of yourself, shut up. And having that voice in your head telling you all the time how you're not worthy, how you're not good enough, how questioning every single little choice you make, every single little choice you made, just is so draining, is so infuriating. It's just, it makes me so mad at myself that I can't just silence it, that I just wanna be able to put myself out there. I know people are not gonna be as mean to me as I am to myself. So this to me is a way to feel like I'm showcasing me, sharing what I like, sharing my personality, sharing my creations with the world, and at the same time in a safer place. I know this community, I've seen the love, like I'm in the Facebook group, everybody's so wonderful, so this to me is gonna be a way to just jump, feel the cold, and then swim, start to swim and keep swimming. And I'm just, of course I'm afraid that to some level the little voice is right, But I have to keep telling myself that that is not true, that little voice won't take over my whole life forever. It's been way too long doing that. It's been way too long feeling like that. So I want to be here. I want to have this experience. I want to be able to share something. I'm so grateful that I'm gonna be able to do it. It's so scary. Like right now it's just me and my phone and everything's fine. But I know it's gonna be fine when this is out there as well. I know it's gonna be fine.
Did you hear that? She said, I'm afraid that the voices are right. Okay, what is imposter syndrome? I think it's very important to note that imposter syndrome is not a clinical diagnosis, but more a term coined to describe a common occurrence. I found an article in the Harvard Business Review that loosely defines imposter syndrome as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. It says it disproportionately affects high-achieving people who find it difficult to accept their accomplishments. And it says many question whether they're deserving of those accolades. Also, an article in the American Psychological Association stated that they often attribute their accomplishments to luck rather than ability and fear that others will eventually unmask them as a fraud. It also says that the imposter phenomenon seems to be more common among people who are embarking on a new endeavor. So Fair in that clip that you saw has just changed careers much like myself. She is launching out on the deep and wondering if she has what it takes. And a common feeling for a lot of people. I stopped doing a very respected career, architecture. Like when I would tell people that I'm an architect, they just like, oh my gosh, you know, that's amazing. And then now to going to a content creator and they're just like, so what does that mean? Like, what do you do? You know, and I kind of, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, did I let my ancestors down? That's my fear. And in that video, she says that she's afraid that that mean little voice is right. And I think that that's the issue, that those mean little voices have some truth to them. And we have a hard time separating the truth from the untruth. All right, so let's use me as an example. When I say I have over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, instantly something in the back of my head says, you've been on YouTube for over 9 years and that's all you have? Which is not untrue, except for the fact that it's a direct comparison of me and my success to people who have achieved more than me completely without looking at people who have achieved less, which means that it's a half truth. And so how can I base my life on a half truth, especially when it's in comparison? The whole thing is in comparison to other people. That same article in the American Psychological Association says that the imposter phenomenon and perfectionism often go hand in hand. So-called imposters think that every task they tackle has to be done perfectly, and they rarely ask for help. It says that perfectionism can lead to two typical responses. An imposter may procrastinate, putting off an assignment out of fear that he or she won't be able to complete it to their necessary high standards, or he or she may overprepare, spending much more time on a task than is necessary, which to me is still another form of procrastination. And as I'm reading this, I'm realizing that I do both of those quite often, vacillating between the two. Let me play you another clip by my very favorite self-proclaimed procrastinator, Dee Dee.
Yesterday was not a good day. By Wednesday going so wrong, I got upset about it. And of course it sent me down that road. My prayer was last night, in tears, I came this far, don't leave me hanging. Hard to come off of that road, determined not to go back down it. I done come too far to quit. Simple as that. He didn't bring me this far to quit. I beat myself up bad about that yesterday. Started doubting myself, started talking bad to myself. Been through therapy, going through therapy. Know how to not do that. But sometimes we do it. Thinking, I'm too old for this, I can't do this. I did that all day yesterday. all day yesterday. I did that.
She's another contestant from this season of Next Top Upcycler, and she has been to fashion school, but as you can see there, she brings up her age. Was she the oldest in the competition? Yes. However, that does give her more life experience and definitely more fashion education because not everybody went to school for fashion. But once again, her mean voice was bringing up half-truths based on comparison. So she was comparing herself to the other contestants, and it was all like half-truths. Like, yes, I'm the oldest, but what does that really mean? That mean voice often only gives the bad part without stating the good. So what's the point? The point is that if you relate to anything that I've said, anything that I've been feeling, anything that you've seen of these two contestants, and they are not alone, I want you to know you are not alone. We just had our cast party with all of the contestants, and when I tell you at least half of the contestants, this is no lie, half of the contestants got on just like this amazing high because of just the amazing work that they did, but they felt like so much pressure after that to one up what they had done on the show that it sent them into just like this creative slump. And it completely shut down their creative process. And I get so many comments from people who say that they want to start upcycling, but they're scared. And the question is, what are you scared of? Are you scared of messing up? Scared that yours won't look like mine? Those are definitely half-truths based on comparison. And the thing is that if you saw a baby that was just learning how to walk, you would never reprimand that child for falling the first time they tried to walk. Right? So we look at ourselves as if we have to do everything perfectly the very first time we try. And when you can stand outside yourself and hear that, it's like, that makes no sense. That absolutely makes no sense. It makes all sense to say, I expect each one to get a little bit better than the one before. I can expect that, although we do have setbacks and different things like that. That's perfectly normal. But to expect things to get better little by little, yes. We wouldn't expect our children to do any different. So why do we expect ourselves just because we're adults? Even our adult children, we wouldn't expect them to just know stuff off the top of their heads that they haven't been taught. So why do we expect the same from ourselves? So what can we do to finally get out of this? Well, first of all, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. But the first thing you can try to do is definitely seek help. I am so glad and so proud of Dee Dee for getting the help that she needs from an actual mental health professional. Like you saw in her video, she says, I am working through this. And that's what we have to expect. We have to expect that we're working through this. And I can tell you firsthand that she is no longer the procrastinator of the group. We just had a class and she is the overachiever. Like, she got so much done. And in that video, you could see that her procrastination was reduced to one day versus what she used to do was save the whole project to the end and only do it at the end, and then maybe not meet her standards that she would have liked to. But this time she did so much work at the beginning. She hit a wall. She took that day to reflect, go through her processes, have her tantrum, whatever she needed to do, and then she finished the process. That is progress, and that's all we can expect from ourselves. And she was in the cast party like mentoring and encouraging everybody else from her perspective because of all the things that she's been through, and in a completely motherly way, which she wouldn't have been able to do if she wasn't the oldest in the group. Another thing you can do is directly address the mean voice. So for me, what has been working is there's two methods that I use to directly address those voices, those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts, those half-truths. One thing, if I am trying to focus on something and get something done, and something else is trying to take my attention, trying to give me a rebuttal, oh, but you're doing that, but you should be doing this, and you should be doing this and that and this and that and this. What I'll do, as soon as the thought tries to intrude, I'll just say, shh. And a lot of times I do say it out of my mouth, not just in my mind. Probably sounds crazy, but I don't care because it is working. It is, for me, it is working. And if the thought tries to continually come, I do it like a baby. I do, and it's really myself. I'm being kind to myself, and I just say, shh, 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 just like I used to do to my kids when they're, like sometimes like a baby they don't feel well and they are trying to cry, and it's like I as a mother understand that you don't feel well. You're trying to get your point across. I understand that you don't feel well. I've already given you a little bit of Tylenol. All right, it's about to kick in, so just shh, 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 shh. And I do myself the same way. And a lot of times it works because I am being kind to myself, and I'm telling myself it's okay. Like, it's okay. We know that there's a lot to do. There's a lot in this world to do. There's a lot of attention. There's a lot of things that demand your attention. But for right now, we're going to focus on this one thing. And then the second method is not so kind. It's when we really are having, like the mean voices, the voices that, like for instance, if I say I'm a good mother and the voice is like, well, what about that time you lost your cool? And I just have to get sassy with the voice. It was sassy with me, so I have to match that energy and get an attitude back with it. It's just like, well, what is a good mother? Like, don't come at me like that. To me, a good mother is a mother who loves their kids and who does their very best to take good care of them. So am I not trying to do that? So miss me with all of that, So I have to get back with it. Just like, no, I'm not going to let you bully me. I'm not going to let you abuse me. You're no longer going to keep me like a slave to my own self-doubt. No, you might get me sometimes, but hit me a couple times, I'm coming back. So that's something that just has been working for me little by little, to just get strong enough to not let myself, beat myself up. Like, what am I beating myself up for? It's not helpful. It's definitely not helpful in this moment. Are there things I need to work on? Yes, because every day I'm growing. But just like I would physically never say to my kids the things that I allow myself to say to myself, then I need to recognize those things and stop saying them to myself, because I love my kids. I would never speak to them that way. And so why should I speak to myself that way? And here's another great way to deal with those thoughts of doubt while you're performing creative tasks.
I really was not feeling good yesterday in multiple senses. Yesterday, I was just really kind of disappointed or upset with like my progress so far, which sounds like super dumb because I've been doing like a lot, and like it took me until like the end of the day yesterday to realize that and like kind of be like, inside voice, quiet. No more. I don't know, I just got hit with that kind of like wave of self-doubt I get sometimes. I'm just in a better headspace mentally today. I really took the end of yesterday to like self-reflect, and instead of like focusing on, oh my god, I'm not gonna get this done by this time, blah 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 blah, instead I focused on, I'm doing a cargo pocket right now. I'm going to finish that pocket. Whatever time I finish that pocket is the right time to finish that pocket. And whatever time I move on to the next thing is a good time to do that.
That was Kalita, our last contestant of the season, Next Top Upcycler. And I have to do the same thing. I have to break down the task and just focus on one thing at a time. And that's what I was saying. I just have to tell myself, shh, we're just going to do this one thing. That's it. And we're going to focus on this until it's done. When it's done, we'll open ourselves up to whatever's next. But everything else, you have to be quiet. And lastly, I hope that we can all, after hearing all of this, I hope we can all agree that comparison truly is the thief of joy. As a creator, everything we put out into the world is subjective. Some of those creative things that we put out into the world will be liked and loved and admired, and some will not. Some will not be liked right now, but will be liked later. Some will be liked right now and disliked later. The field is very subjective. And I think that's another reason why, like the stress and the pressure is because, there's no definite way, no calculations you to do to say that this is absolutely the most perfect thing. All you can do is do your best, put it out there and see what happens. People always comment like, why don't you have 1 million subscribers yet? You should have 1 million subscribers. And I'm glad they feel that way, but it's just always like this pinprick, you know, like I'm doing something wrong. And the truth of the matter is that not 1 million people that have seen it have liked it enough to subscribe. Bottom line. But if you put that into perspective, there's over 7 billion people in this world. So my job is to just try to, one, make the best content I can make, and two, do my best to get it out to be seen by as many people as possible. And that's where my effort lies. I can't, you know, get caught up in that, because those numbers overall are not what's important. What's important to me is building that community. And I get lost, and I'm going to admit, I get lost in that. I get lost in the successes. I get lost in those stats that I stated at the beginning. But when I do get lost, one thing that works for me is to have a grounding point. And for me, my grounding point is when I first started this channel, there was a lady who used to comment often. Her name was Angel. She was going through her 3rd bout with cancer. And she told me in a comment that my channel was helping her to just get through that process, going through chemotherapy for the 3rd time. And she was saying because she had no control over her health, no control over her finances, but what she could control was her wardrobe. She was taking her clothes that were in her closet and she was remaking them. And that was giving her joy as she was going through this process. And that means more to me than anything. And so many comments since then. I have so many of those instances that I just say, okay, yeah, I may not be where I set the bar that I want to be, but I'm making a difference and I'm grateful. So as you struggle through life, I just wanted you to know that you matter. You're winning. You may not think you are, but you are. Just keep going. And when you need to take a break, but don't stay there. Take your break and keep going. If you deal with some of these same things and you have other suggestions of how you deal with it, definitely please put them in the comments, because they can help so many people. Oh, definitely, I do have other videos about upcycling, about sewing machine comparisons. If you are interested, right there, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a thing, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.